Hello everyone, it's Matt. Welcome to April's solar energy update. So a quick overview of my system. I have 12 410 watt panels, south-facing. They feed into a 5 kilowatt string inverter, which then hooks up to my GivEnergy All-In-One battery system. That's 13.5 kilowatt hours. I also have an Eddi, but that is switched off at the moment. For anybody who's interested in how the gateway and battery hook up, this is a quick overview of how it fits into my house and electrical system, where it sits in between the smart meter and the consumer unit. So in terms of solar PV, it was a very mixed month. The first half was actually really quite wet and windy, so we didn't produce a huge amount. But the second half was massively better. As you can see, we produced 450 kilowatt hours, which equates to 15 kilowatt hours per day. Now, if we look at the estimate of what I should be producing, it is 499. So we're kind of slightly under, about 90%, which for how wet it was is actually pretty decent. In terms of year to date, I've managed to go through the 1 megawatt hour barrier, so we're now at 1.1 megawatt hours. In terms of cost, I'm now on the Flux Octopus Tariff. So this is a tri-band tariff on both the import and export. And as you can see, that pretty much all of my import is on the off-peak, with only a tiny little bit going into standard and peak rates. There's not really much you can do around that, because no matter how good your battery system is, there's always going to be these tiny little microseconds where the battery's catching up with what you're trying to do. So that's why there's a little bit, but as you can see, compared to the off-peak, it's such a tiny amount. And with export, again, during the standard rate, that's mostly just excess solar. Once the battery's charge is going out to the grid, and then the peak rated, that is when I force export my battery out. In terms of the actual costings, the import is 15p off-peak, 25p standard rate, and 35p peak rate. And the peak rate is from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. And then for export, the standard rate is 15 pence and the peak rate is 25 pence. So as you can see, if you charge up on cheap 15 pence electricity during the night, you could export that at 25 pence later on in the day. Standing charge, unlike last month's video, I assumed my standing charge was actually going to go up massively, as that's what it looked like it was going to do. And I think for most people it has. But for some strange reason, in the area I am, the actual standing charge actually dropped by almost half a pence. So I've removed the demand flexibility service line and replaced it with octopunts. So this could be either the monthly roll you get, so you get 4 goes at spinning the wheel, and generally most people only win 1 pence per spin of the wheel, but theoretically you could win up to £1,000. Also if you refer somebody, you can get £50 in octo points as well. So that gives me a grand total for April of minus £33.37. Now if I spent the same, the standard variable rate, it would have cost me just under £80. So actually I've saved just under £115. Now if we look for a day-by-day basis, so this is basically showing you if it's in red, it actually cost me that day, and in green, I actually made a credit. So as you can see, on the days where the solar has been poor, which is generally if it's below about 6 kilowatt hours of solar, it costs me money. And if it's more than that, I make a credit for the day. So month on month, you would obviously expect April to be way better than March, because obviously it's getting lighter in the morning, you're getting more daylight hours, it's sunnier, and that is the case. You might wonder why the import has grown massively in April compared to March, and that's because I've swapped from the Go tariff to the Flux tariff. So now it is actually beneficial to charge your battery up at night and then sell on the solar during the day and during the peak period. So that's why that's gone up. As you can see, the amount of solar generated went up by about 20%, although I was hoping to get a bit more, but you get what you get. And as you can see, the export has ramped up massively as well, because I'm now force exporting the battery at night. So by the end of the day, I basically have an empty battery. So you can see the final bill has gone from £20 credit to £33 credit. So in terms of electricity usage, I've managed to add, I think, 3 or 4 more sensors into my house. So I'm getting a lot better understanding of where the usage is. It's not 100% yet because I only added it halfway through the month. So it'll actually be May's stats where we'll get to see the full details. So I've managed to add the, microwave, the lighting circuit. Now obviously everything's LED now, so actually the lighting circuit isn't going to be that high, and obviously as we move into summer, obviously we have the lights on less and less, so that will actually drop down. We've added the oven circuit, so that's actually obviously going to be quite high, as well as the what I call the kitchen oven circuit, where the actual main usage on that is probably likely to be my boiler, because until I actually had this running, I didn't realize that my gas boiler, when it's on, actually consumes about 80 to 90 watts, which, okay, in the summer it's not a massive issue because it's only on for hot water, maybe for an hour a day. But in the winter, if you've got it on for 10 hours a day heating your house, you know, those 90 watts actually add up quite a lot. And I think that's when people move from a gas boiler to an air source heat pump, they sometimes forget that actually you're saving electricity by getting rid of your gas boiler, and that saved electricity can actually go towards generating heat for you when you actually get your air source heat pump. Anyway, so that was a brief overview of how this month's gone. Thanks for watching. If you're not with Octopus Energy, by all means, please use my referral code and you'll get £50 off your next bill. So I will see you next month. Goodbye.